Yeah, we actually have multiple facilities in secondary and tertiary markets. So we see that the demand is even potentially higher there because there's small towns, there's not as many competitors, there's not as many REITs present. Interestingly enough, though, we have one facility in Fort Worth that we've actually transitioned some units into little office spaces.
Oh,
So the people who aren't wanting to work in a big office right now or just are working from home and need a little place to go away from their family, we've actually set aside some storage units for those, and those have rented up really quickly. So,
welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast, your source for real-world strategies focused on creating long-term wealth, cash flow, and financial freedom through real estate. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful real estate investors and thought leaders, we provide you the tools to succeed and reach the lifestyle you always wanted. And now your host, Dwaine Clarke.
hello and welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Show. This is your host, Dwaine Clarke. Today we have Lauren Brychell. Lauren is the head of investor relations and a marketing associate with Spartan Investment Group. We had her colleague on, Ryan Gibson, last year. It was a great interview, as well as we did a webinar. So I'm glad to have Lauren with us today. Lauren, how you doing, my friend? And how's your day going?
I'm doing well, Dwaine. Thanks for having me on. My day is going great. It's been a busy morning so far.
All right, awesome. Yeah, appreciate you taking the time. We on this show, we talk about a lot of different asset classes, from multifamily to self-storage, mobile home parks. But lately, we've been especially our investor group, we've been really keen on looking and learning more about the self-storage industry. And I know that you guys have been specializing in that category for some time now. So I'm glad to have you on the show, kind of pick your brain a little bit about it. But before we get started, we'd love to learn a little bit more about your background, how you got started in real estate.
Sure thing. So I attended Belmont Abbey College, where I studied entrepreneurship and marketing. And I really was interested in real estate from a young age. I saw my parents buy a lot of homes growing up. We moved around a lot. So ever since then, they would always include me in the process. And I just really loved everything about it. So I always knew I kind of wanted to get into real estate in some form or another. I was lucky enough to find Spartan Investment Group just over a year ago. And I've been with them ever since. So I really love the self-storage asset class.
Awesome. And as regards to kind of like the self-storage, I know I've been kind of following now heading towards 2021. People are trying to figure out like where is like the kind of the more, I would say, market resilient asset class. I know, apartment buildings have its perks and other certain things. But now that we've been going through this pandemic, people are trying to more get into real assets. Can you kind of talk about, where self-storage is currently and where you think it's going to be heading towards the next year and into the future?
Sure. Yeah, I will say when Spartan was looking for asset classes to invest in and to buy, the two most recession resistant asset classes that they found were medical offices and self-storage. So it's a really great, obviously we're not necessarily in a full recession, but it's really recession resistant. We haven't seen our delinquency rates go up crazy amounts or anything. For example, we bought a facility outside of Denver in April, and we bought that facility and it was at a 34% delinquency rate, and we brought it down to a 5%. So
Wow.
We don't see the current status of, COVID-19 affecting that at all. So yeah, we're definitely focusing on self-storage again in 2021. It's such a steady asset class. People always need storage, whether it's economic downturn or, uprise. So yeah.
Yeah, even to kind of add to that point, I had mentioned just right before we was recording that Blackstone, one of the largest, private equity companies in the world, just purchased Simply Self Storage for 1.2 billion, I think, back in October. So you're trying to see some institutional money go into there. So it's like when you're starting to see some of the larger companies kind of move over to that asset class, that you kind of see that there's definitely some movement in there, and they're probably as far as their research team and things that they're looking for, that they're pretty on top of what's going on. And then you guys are kind of ahead of class, always been investing in that for some time now.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to kind of like the characteristics that you guys look for when you guys invest, you mentioned the one in Denver. Is it more more a deep value add, or are you guys just looking for like existing cash flowing ones, or new development? Like, what's kind of like your criteria?
Sure, kind of a mix. We do new development, we do value add, sometimes opportunistic. We always look for a property that is either in lease up mode or is already stabilized. We like to add on to it a lot. So we always look for land or development potential if the market allows for it. So if there's room and demand in the market, we love to add on. So we always kind of look for that component.
And it's something that always, and it may be like a silly question in regards to kind of what we're seeing in the office industry, like in New York City and a lot of these major metro markets where a lot of the population is starting to move out of the city. Is there any play in those type of markets that's kind of like secondary markets, not like, really in these densely populated areas? That's something that you guys even look at, or is that just kind of off basis there?
Absolutely. Yeah. We actually have multiple facilities in secondary and tertiary markets. So we see that the demand is even potentially higher there because there's small towns. There's not as many competitors. There's not as many REITs present. Interestingly enough, though, we have one facility in Fort Worth that we've actually transitioned some units into little office spaces.
Oh,
So the people who aren't wanting to work in a big office right now or just are working from home and need a little place to go away from their family, we've actually set aside some storage units for those, and those have rented up really quickly. So
wow.
interesting way
That's even really, I didn't even think about that. And I also kind of remembering from the webinar that we got presented with last year, you mentioned a lot of different profit centers. So you guys like said converted that over to office space. Can you kind of talk about, for people who didn't catch those previous interview, about the potential profit centers that you can add onto a self-storage facility?
Sure. So yeah, so we have U-Haul rentals at some of our facilities. We have UPS, FedEx drop-offs for additional profit. We have propane on some of our RV park facilities that we are able to capture revenue from. There's all sorts of different ways. We sell boxes and supplies, moving supplies, all kinds of things like that. So the possibilities are endless.
And I know I forgot to kind of touch it on the last point regarding to markets. I know that you guys have your kind of their criteria. Is there any kind of tools and resources that you have in mind for people that are interested in self-storage to use research? I know like economic and job data and population growth and things like that.
Sure. So I know we use Esri for a source, and inside self-storage, we use them a lot. I know we have like 10 sources, but I'm not on the business intelligence side, so I'm not sure about all of them, but we do a deep and thorough checklist on those. I know Esri is one that we definitely use.
And as far as kind of like your role with the company, you had mentioned like marketing, things like that. Can you kind of talk about kind of like your position with the company, how you've been able to kind of help bring the awareness to the company, and then bring in potential partners, investors, and things like that?
Sure. Yeah. So when I started, we did a little bit of marketing with all of the properties at the corporate level, and I've really grown the marketing to include things like billboards and flyer mailer campaigns. We do a lot of social media posting now that's pretty consistent. We always do Google ads, we do Facebook ads, Instagram ads. YouTube ads is a new one that we've been playing with, which is very interesting. It really helps with SEO. So just really thinking outside of the box outside of your usual marketing for some of these small secondary and tertiary markets. For example, we've played around with the idea of going to little mom and pop diners in tertiary markets, and the little placemats they have under the tables, advertising on those. That really goes a long way in those small towns. So
Yeah, that's definitely really. I like those ideas, because again, if you're in these secondary markets, depending on that the media outlet, for some people they're not really seeing it, but they'll go to the same diner, and then the type of price point of your units and the services that you offer, the reach to the locals there to really maximize. And especially when you have like investor partners, you're trying to increase occupation and then just kind of just build as much income out of that as much as possible. So you're really just trying to grow that asset. Are you guys more in the play of like more longer term holds, or you guys just really look to add value and then sell it to like a REIT or something like that? What's more of your kind of your business model?
it kind of all depends. If it's a development, we usually, say 10-year hold. If it's a usual, value add, maybe we expand, maybe we just make operational improvements. Usually it's a 5-year, we say. So.
And as far as kind of like, just to kind of learn a little bit more about you, I know we kind of chatted just briefly before we started the show. But what's like a typical work day for you? And then do you have any special morning routines?
Sure. So typical workday for me is nothing's ever typical. Going back and forth from IR to marketing, things are always changing and every day is different, which is great. So if we have a raise going on, I help out, making sure wires are getting in, helping investors sign up to subscribe for the offering. Marketing wise, I'm always posting and trying to figure out new ideas to do for our Spartan corporate account, and then checking in with the operations team every week and sometimes daily too, to make sure that all the self-storage properties or RV parks that we have, if there are any in need that are kind of lower in occupancy, or if there's a special event going on in town, making sure that's captured and we're marketing that out to the public and our customers. So every day looks completely different.
Oh, awesome. And as far as any tools and resources, I know you work with a lot of different departments and in a lot of different things. And you said that, every day could be different. Is there any tools and resources that you use that helps you make you more productive?
Yeah, I use Canva a lot. It's a super quick and easy way to do some nice graphic design.
Yeah, definitely good software. Yeah.
Love that. I also have a VA who does a lot of my video creations and really fancy graphic design. So I would definitely recommend getting a VA. And I also, MailChimp is a great way to do email campaigns to your customers or to your investors or whoever, just making sure makes sure that the communications look really good and consistent and well put together. So those are my top 3 that I really like to utilize.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I know I always ask this question to all of the guests, and then this kind of like more of a pondering question of, what can you say that you're most grateful for?
Honestly, I'm most grateful for Spartan and all that they taught me about finance, about investments. My background was in marketing, and I worked for a tech company and a CBD oil company before this. So I had really no concept of real estate investments. And they've been so patient and kind and teaching me all of the things I need to know. So really grateful for them.
Awesome. And as far as I know, past interviews, we have like all the show notes, but we're definitely going to put those in for this show as well. Can you share some contact information, how we can get contact with you and your company?
Sure. Lauren at Spartan-investors.com is my email. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well, Lauren Brychell.
All right, awesome. Lauren, it was appreciated having you on the show, and as well as your colleague, and giving us an update on the self-storage industry, and then, like I said, all kind of the more of the positive aspects of of it being a nice recession-resistant investment, and all of the different benefits out of that. So I appreciate you taking the time, and look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Thank you, Dwayne. I hope you have a great day.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or the listening platform of your choice. Also, please check us out at DwaineLClarke.com, as well as find us on Facebook for more useful content and resources.